what's up and why, bringing you the bright side of life, one fun moment at a time. Brought to you by the New Thought Media Network. Please put your hands together for your hosts, Rev Casey Taylor and Miss B Lovely. We're spreading love today on this Thursday. Spreading it digitally wherever.
Yes, we are.
Again, thanks for joining us for another episode of What's Up and Why. I am Miss B Lovely here with our guest co-host. I'll let you introduce yourself.
I am Tasha Salinas, and it's my joy to be sitting in for Rev Casey Taylor today in this fun conversation. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining me and joining us today. We was having a very interesting conversation because right before we started, you were saying like, I'm so grounded, which I definitely don't feel grounded sometimes. And you were saying like, you feel like, you're like this weird psychic, in the stars. And I was like, wait a minute, let's pull back. I don't sense, I don't like the word weird because like growing up, I was always called the weirdo, but I'm like, we're all just different. I just feel like we're all different. We all see life from different perspectives and stuff. But like, I want to hear, why, you put that title on yourself, like why you choose that title.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. And it's my joy. You said, is that okay? I said, oh, 100%. So I was raised in the military and I've lived all over the world. So I've never really fit in with anybody. And I'm the only mixed race person in my immediate family. And so inherently, I just felt other and different. Well, now what I do, I'm psychic. I'm an embodiment coach. I'm an enlightenment coach. I'm an inspired, an anointed minister, pastor. Like this is what I do, is help people to wake up to who they really, really are. So weird for me never really held anything with it. But I'm like, I am weird because, and I'm just going to jump to the end of it. I believe that I am no different than Jesus, but in the same breath, I'm going to say I'm an alien. Like I'm a soul animating this body. And I know that that's kind of wild, but not necessarily, because as the paradigm of who we actually are is shifting and evolving, and we're able to embody more of our divine selves. To your point, we are all different, and we are all, I like to say for me, weird. And so in light of current circumstances and today's date and stuff that we're going to talk about, my weirdness came full on this morning, and I had a weird experience, but I'm like, this is par for the course. If I'm a Christian mystic, if I'm psychic, if I'm an enlightenment coach, if I help people self-soothe, then I got to be weird. I get to be the leader. I get to be the new thought thinker and the new thought thinking actor, the one that acts out these new thoughts. So
I love thank you for sharing that and your willingness to want to speak on it. Side note, I love asking for people's consent. I'm not just going to throw people, out there. So that's why I wanted to ask first. But I love how you take the term weird, because like for me growing up, like my family, we moved around a lot, moved from North Carolina to Maryland. And then I was in different neighborhoods like almost every other year. So it was hard to really like plant roots and really have like a core group and stuff. So I always felt other, weird, outside looking in, and people would say that, and I would take it like as a negative. But you made your own definition. Like it sounds like you take ownership of it. Like, yes, I'm different. I'm not like everyone else. And from what I'm getting from it, it's like from a sense of love and empowerment, instead of, for me, I always thought it's like, oh, that's a bad term. I don't want that. I'm just different, other. So I love, just taking ownership and switching the lens of how, we feel ourselves, instead of just taking on whatever title that society tries to put on you.
Yes. Thank you. And in that thread, I keep hearing you say, take. And so what I'm hearing in response is, you will be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. And I ain't going to preach, but I'm going to have one sentence. And for me, Christ is a man who attained a certain frequency of 144,000, which is enlightenment. And so what Jesus was saying, as we take every thought captive and make it obedient to that frequency of our Christed consciousness, then we're able to rewrite any narrative. So you call me weird, bet I'm going to take that and I'm going to make it and use it for God's glory. God's glory. So I'm going
I
to
like,
be the expression of weirdness to help others to see that it's okay to change their mind about who they think they are. And there you go.
yeah, I
Preaching
like
to
that.
the
I needed that in my early 20s because I feel like I didn't get to that level of enlightenment of like having ownership of my thoughts instead of letting my thoughts run me. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, this thought
real.
comes into mind. If it doesn't serve me, for me mentally, I put like a string on it. It becomes a balloon and I just let it go
Ooh,
and
I love
dissipate. But if
that.
it's a thought that I love, that I think is going to like help me in
Yeah.
some way, then it's like, okay, I'm going to store this. I'm going to hold on to this.
Ooh, yes, beautiful. I love that imagery. Well done.
I know. So, the significance of today, our recording, it just so
Mhm,
happens to fall on September the 11th, which marks 24 years since the tragedy that happened in New York City, Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and here in Washington, D.C.
mm,
And every year in America, there's always like, solemn remembrances and a time for
mhm,
people to like, reflect on that time and look ahead to the
mhm.
present and how we're moving forward and stuff. And for me, when it happened, like I was in third grade. I remember my mom pulling me out of my classroom because we were in the same school. She's a teacher. Shout out to all the teachers out there.
Ooh,
And I
yes.
didn't really understand like the severity of what was happening. Like I saw it on the news and stuff, but I didn't really connect with it because I think I was like 7 years old. So I didn't really understand like just
Yeah.
how tragic it was. But
Mhm,
24 years later, I see now, like working in the news and stuff.
mm,
It seems like, we honor those who lost their lives, but also turning that tragedy into triumph, how we're able to like, push
mm,
forward and push
mhm.
through different laws and stuff to like help prevent another tragedy like that from happening.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you said that. I love how beautifully you talked about transforming. And again, it's just like alchemy. It's healing
Mhm.
and it's turning
Yeah.
lead into gold, right? It's just
Yeah.
that taking all things and allowing them to be, used for good. And I didn't realize our age gap, yours and mine, because 9/11 I was in college and gosh, I feel like somebody's auntie right now saying like,
No.
"Geez
I'm somebody's
Louise,
auntie.
like, how are we both 27 years old? It just doesn't make sense or something." I'm just saying.
Right?
Anyway, I was in college and because she's weird, right? The night before, I promise you this, God and my ex-husband as my witness, I had a dream that I was in my dorm room and not even kidding, not even kidding. An airplane flew into my dorm room and I woke up and I was like, "Ugh." And I told him about it because he had stayed the night. We lived in a co-ed dorm and
Yeah.
he wasn't supposed to stay the night, but he did. So we woke up, that morning getting ready for our 8:30 class or whatever. And I was like, "Hey, I had the weirdest dream, blah, 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 blah." And he was like, "That's weird." And then I don't know, however long later, we turn on the news, as was our routine in the mornings, just to kind of see what's going on. And of
Yeah.
course, it was on it. Like the first tower had already been struck by the time we turned it on. We were watching, like, oh my gosh. And we watched the second one hit. I had forgotten about the dream because I was so transfixed
Yeah.
in the media. And that was catalytic, of course, for me. But that was my experience of that day. And remembering and going back down memory lane as we continue the conversation, I believe it's going to be very healing, especially
Yeah.
today. And not because it's the anniversary, but because of recent, situations in our country here in America, but then also psychically and intuitively, and what I believe that God has given a message for me to know and to be prepared for these evolutionary changes as we look back, to look forward and to kind of be able to walk with confidence into the couple of things that are happening at this right now moment.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's so interesting that you had a dream like that the night before. Like, what are the odds of that?
When I realized it, I was like, "Ooh," and I felt like I wanted to throw up. 'Cause,
Oh,
like, that felt like, in that moment where I was what could I have done? Nothing.
mhm.
So, God, why would you let me know mere hours before something happened that would change the world, literally change the world? And who the
Yeah,
hell am I, right? Who the hell am I? So I got to wear that weight for a little bit until I really understand who I am.
Mhm.
Or the
Man,
I am.
if my mom or my grandma was here, because they would have been like trying to like do a deep dive and stuff into all that, because my mother
Mm.
and my grandmother, I remember growing up, they would always try to they would decipher dreams together. My
Yeah.
grandmother, yeah, my grandmother was like she spearheaded it. So I remember my mother telling me the story, like whenever my grandma would have a dream, she would have like this type of interpretation, and nine
Yeah.
times out of 10 it would be true. And so like I
Mm,
grew up listening to like my mother and my
mm,
grandmother talking about their dreams,
mm,
coming up with their own interpretation of it. And with
mhm.
my mom, it's always been so weird. Whenever she's had a dream, like she would come up and ask me if something's happened. And lo and behold, it would eventually happen.
Yeah.
And like,
Mhm,
you bringing that up, it made me think about that. And like I think I've like read online, like that type of stuff is like some people are able to like
mhm.
see different things, like these seers. If
Yeah,
am I
yeah,
using the right
psychic.
terminology?
Absolutely, psychic or prophetic.
Mhm,
I'm a prophet, and
mhm.
my degree back there, I've got my doctorate in self-awareness studies, which is all
Yeah.
that to say, like, I get prophetic information about the self, who I am and the weirdness.
Mhm.
And now I understand that sometimes when I get premonition, for Tasha, my gifting is to speak it out like in that moment. And when I don't, my body shows that I'm holding on to that divine light. And if I don't obey, then my body shows it. And that's that anxiety. Sometimes that's that restlessness. And yesterday, well, I woke up, like I said, feeling very ungrounded. I was like, something is afoot. And so for me,
Yeah.
my wounding, my initial childhood wound was to take responsibility for everything that doesn't feel right. When in reality, like, baby, we are all just antennas. And we let, to your earlier point about the balloon, we let
Yeah.
some things go and some things are supposed to resonate with us because as an antenna, sure, we receive, but we also transmit. So,
Mhm.
yeah, prophecy, right? Poof.
Yeah. Transmit, like, what do you mean, like, we also transmit, like, the energy that we put out into the world?
Yeah, I'm not going to get super nerdy on you, but I am going to share when I teach embodiment or self awareness or enlightenment, depending on how deep we want to go. I always center everything around three tenets: know yourself, trust yourself, then express yourself. And to answer your
Mhm.
question, when you know who you are, you just know who you are, right? From the spine, like, you know who you are,
Yeah.
then you inherently have the opportunity to trust who you are. So then you speak the word, you say the thing, you let it go, you do the thing from that place of sovereignty and centeredness, right? Know yourself,
Yeah.
trust yourself, and then express yourself. And so to answer your question, your energy just automatically expresses who you are. Now, if you're in a
Yeah.
place of dysregulation and you're not really grounded and you're insecure, you're going to express all of that waffling energy. But my calling is to teach them to self-soothe. So when you 9/11, today, yesterday, or tomorrow, when things happen, we only have our own nervous system. We only ever experience our own nervous system. So when you find yourself back at that place of self-trust and you find your rest, then your energy, your aura, right? These
Yeah.
energy bodies makes it to where others feel safe in your presence. And that's how you elevate to being a master of energetic and spiritual embodiment. And then you're able to do things such as ascending above the depths of your emotion, of drowning and
Yeah.
walking on water, so to speak. And so we could go down that one day. We'll do that another show. But to your point,
Yeah.
like that magnetism and all that stuff, it's just who you are. It's just who you actually are.
Mhm. Know
As an
yourself. You said know yourself, trust yourself, and express yourself.
Yes. Yes, and a lot of times, most of the time, the expression comes naturally, but there are times because we have free will to make choices to express in alignment with what we know, and as people have done through all of humanity, some people are killed for simply who they are, and that
Yeah.
and that is A-okay, because every soul has a path. Every
Mhm.
incarnation, every lifetime as a soul has been preordained to fulfill its mission. We all
Yeah.
are sent by God. We are all created by God. We all are gods, so to speak. So,
Yeah.
that's big.
I
I
love
know.
that. I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
It
I love
Yeah.
you.
Piggybacking off of what you were saying, like, knowing yourself, trusting yourself, expressing yourself. I wish I would have learned earlier in life that it was okay to express myself.
Mm,
I didn't really learn that it was okay and become comfortable with it
mm,
until my late 20s, early 30s, because growing up like in the South, my
beautiful.
mother was a preacher's kid, so she was like very, very old school in thinking. I was always taught, children, you're not supposed to be seen, you're not supposed to be heard. You're supposed to
Mm,
be, as the firstborn daughter, be subservient to, doing
yeah.
helping people, always going the extra mile and like serving others and putting yourself last and stuff. And I just realized I had like so much that I held in.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
when I would finally express myself, it'd be like a bomb because I didn't learn how to
Yes.
like healthily express myself. So it's like for anybody who's listening to this, like
Mhm.
it is so important to like, spend time with yourself, learn
Yeah.
yourself, become comfortable with yourself and your quirks, and be comfortable and unabashedly free with expressing
Mm,
yourself because I had so much freedom, so much
yes.
more happiness, so much more joy and peace when I
Mm,
finally started to express myself and be comfortable with
yes.
expressing myself.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And twice you said, "I wish I would have learned this earlier." This is perfect timing. Yeah. You were building your testimony is what you were doing. That's what we like to say in the church,
I
you
like
know?
that. I like that.
You were. And let it all be for the glory of who you are now. The way that God expresses through you needed that shadowy time, of holding it all in. So now look at you. Not only are you in media, but like you're leading the media by the way that you live and just simply who you are. So thank you for your service. How about that?
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm,
But
beautiful.
it's just when I was just we were talking about, just reflecting on the 24th anniversary of 9/11. Sometimes I reflect on
Mm,
different moments in my past where it's like, man, I wish I would have known. Like, yeah, I understand, like, that's building your testimony. This is all
yeah.
our
Hard.
first time living this lifetime. So we're learning as we go. But it's like, man, I
That's
really could have been super badass if I had this intellect and, this
literally.
confidence and
Right?
stuff
And then if
back
you're anything
then.
like me, you start feeling like, "What do I need to do now? What do I need to know now?" Like
Yes.
mhm, mhm.
Yes.
I'm always falling
Yes.
behind. Oh my gosh. That's me anyway. But again, that's
That
why
is
we come back to the right now moment, right? Because when we are in the
Mhm.
right now moment, we're timeless. Like, the
That's
past is a
true.
memory and the future is a thought. So, I
That's
don't even
true.
know. It's just that's why
That's
that's
true.
how I reconcile it. So, yeah.
Using the past to help fuel our
Mm,
future. And this gets us into our next topic. That's what Issa
yes.
Rae is doing with her new documentary that just released this week on HBO. It's called Seen and Heard: The History of Black Television.
Mhm.
And she goes through like the decades of like the formation of Black people finally getting their foot in the door in television in the
I love
television industry. And she
yes, I
talks
love
about
it.
like a lot of big shows like Martin, Fresh Prince of Bel Air, Cosby Show, Girlfriends. The only show that was like really really big for me in my childhood was the Cosby Show because
Yeah.
I would stay at my grandparents' house a lot and they didn't have cable. They had like little bunny ear antennas, so whatever was on NBC, ABC, CBS, that's what
It
we had to watch. And
oh,
for
how
me as a little kid, like the Cosby Show was just my comfort show. It was the only channel that had NBC was the only channel that had perfect
mhm.
perfect reception with their antennas. But with their whole family
Mm,
dynamic, it made me feel like, oh wow, like I'm a part of this family and stuff. And it's just I'm really happy that she's doing this documentary because she's showing how there was a lack of Black faces on television, why
mm,
networks finally decided to start giving, showrunners, writers, actors chances, and how it helped other Black people to finally see themselves on television as opposed to, being seen as like the other or, the villain, seeing themselves in professional
yes.
lighting, and, it just helped
Yeah.
advance the culture, and educate other people of our culture.
I love that.
Yeah.
I will say about the
Mhm.
Cosby Show specifically, I never resonated with it because I had a traumatic, not healthy childhood. So I'd watch it and I'm
Mhm.
like, "That's so fake." Ugh, but I still watched it because we were in the military, so we only got the main couple of channel or shows on our one network that we had that was English or American.
Yeah.
And so the Cosby Show, I was like, oh yeah, no, that's it. This ain't real. Although I used to hope and wish and pray and dream that I would look like Sandra, like the oldest sister.
Yes.
Yes, I was like, I hope I look like her. Oh my gosh, she's so pretty, because she was biracial, or she looked like it anyway. Our skin color was similar, and I was like, I do want to be like her. So interesting, and I love that exposure. I love that Issa Rae. Is that how I say it?
Issa
Issa.
Rae.
I like that delve into it. All right, necessary and needed for sure.
Yeah, because for me, like I'm a huge fan of history. I love watching documentaries and stuff, and I feel like the way
Yeah.
how that we prevent the bad things that happened in the past and to help us to go
Mhm.
forward in the future is to learn from past mistakes. You have to know your
Yes,
history so that you don't repeat the bad things that happened in
absolutely.
history.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as within, so without, right? So to connect our earlier like light conversation about being weird and being different, like when we know who we are, then we get to use that as a testimony our story as we move forward. But the same with, in my opinion, looking back at 9/11 and just
Yeah.
what have we learned as a society? How many times are we going to repress or oppress people because of, you know what I mean? Wherever they sat in that
Yeah.
situation. So I love this whole collective introspection or looking back as we continue to look forward. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
even in media, especially in media. Ugh,
hmm
sorry, I'm getting
Now,
excited.
now earlier, like before, like our pre-show conversation, like you had made mention to me, like how when I was bringing up, the documentary and like TV shows and stuff, you said
Yes.
like growing up in your childhood, TV wasn't really a big thing in your
Yeah.
life. Like, can you like dive a little bit into like the why is that and
Yes.
stuff, like what you
100%.
replaced it with?
Yes. So I'm very energetically open child. Like I had all the imaginary friends, pictures, plants, everything was talking to me. So there was a lot of noise already.
Mhm.
And then my mom single mother, she would watch TV in the evenings. Like that's what she did. And so whatever she's watching was just on. So there were times that I would go to sleep listening to her watching like unsolved mysteries or listening to her watch like scary crap that scared the crap out of me.
Oh,
And I
snap.
and I just never really attached to it. And as I got older and older, the more I realized what I was taking in, it just didn't feel good. And so I'm like, wait a minute, life, and this is the thought that I had when I first formed this belief, but I was like, life is hard enough for me to not take in a lot of crap. And now we call that our mental diet. You are what you take in, you are what you eat, so to
Yeah.
speak. And so I'm very discerning as far as what I watch. And for those reasons, all the millions of reasons, I don't really consume a lot of like popular media things. And so again, to our conversation before we hit start, it's interesting because I don't always feel abreast of the current like hot topic in pop culture. But again, my particular calling is to be in a different come from a different perspective is a better way to say it. It's the
Yeah.
best way to say it.
Yeah. And I
Mhm.
didn't really like you make a really good point. Like it's important to be cautious about, what you're taking in through media,
Yes,
like your
ma'am.
media diet, because it can really affect you. Like I can definitely
Mhm.
ascertain to that because I noticed when I used to love horror movies. My dad and
Yeah.
I we would watch like slasher films when I was a little kid. Definitely was not appropriate, but I wasn't afraid of it. But as I got older and I started
Yeah.
venturing on my own, like I would start to get like scared and paranoid. And I realized, okay, I'm scared like this because I'm taking
Mm.
in, like, I will watch Investigation Discovery Channel,
Yeah.
all these unsolved crimes, all these horror stuff. So it's like I would be
Yes.
paranoid and fearful and stuff, and I would pick that stuff up. And once
Mhm.
I finally started to like fall back on that and not watch so much of that, all that fear and paranoia just started to go
Mm.
away. And I was like, okay,
Mhm.
so I'm gonna stay away from this because I feel more
Yes.
peaceful and safe in my home as opposed to when I'm watching this stuff. And it's so important to watch about what
Mhm.
you are listening to, what you're watching, because you can
Yes.
pick that on and carry it with you.
100%. I feel it's the energy chords, as we're
Yeah.
just taking this on as entertainment, then all of a sudden, let's just say we're all wrapped up in true crime. Not no disrespect to true crime, right? It's just like having a dessert, like a sundae. Don't have it every single day because every now and then it
Yeah.
feels good. Feels good to indulge, right? But let's just say we're all feasting on true crime. Well, then something very criminal happens publicly, and all of a sudden we're all first class, detectives, and everybody's a victim, and
Yes.
everybody's the perpetrator, and we're
Yeah.
just nothing but casting judgments, and that starts to feel heavy and gross,
Yes,
and when we
absolutely.
remember like that we are love itself, love is unifying, not divisive. And so not that there's anything wrong with entertainment, but for Tasha, and getting to be a very conscious individual, like there's a responsibility that comes with our pure expression of our energy, right? And so if I feasted on nothing but ice cream sundaes, then I think that my expression of my physical stature, would represent the
Yeah.
not quality of what I've been taking in. And so it's interesting, especially when we think of what we now know about energetics. And I'm not going to dive too deeply in that, but quantum entanglement and quantum physics has proven scientifically that we're all connected in a web of energy to begin with. So as you make the choice to not watch those things that weigh down your spirit, you're showing up in consideration for another person who your lightness of energy helps them to ascend out of those
Yeah.
heavier feelings and densities, even if they don't even know that you made the decision to not feast on horror stories or horror movies or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's all just letting go of the things that weigh us down,
Hmm.
in my
I had to
opinion.
do that with trap music. I used to love listening to people like Little Durk, Chief Keef, and stuff.
Next,
But then I
next
noticed
topic. You leave Meg out of this. You leave Meg and Cardi B out of this.
I listen to them when I'm working out, but I cannot
Yes,
listen to them when I'm just like, driving around or just vibing because then I start picking up, that
yes,
type of mentality. And it's like, oh, I'm being all buck and aggressive for no reason. And it's because
yes.
of the music.
But you do listen when you work out, because I might be
Oh,
taking notes from you.
because for me, I need that pump to make me feel like, oh,
Mm.
yes, I am that girl. I am the stuff. Like I can get this.
Your baddie playlist. You got your baddie playlist on when you're
Oh,
working out?
I actually use what's it called? Apple Music. They have this it's called high maintenance, their playlist, and it's like
Okay.
all female rappers. And
Stop
it's
it.
so good. Yes, all
I,
female rappers.
I will find it because I also use Apple Music. Like, hey, Apple, sponsor us.
Right?
But yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I sometimes the beats, and every now and then I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then my
That's
next
what it
song,
usually is, the beats for
well,
me.
then my next song, because my playlist is so like eclectic, I guess it is. My next song is like, Old Rugged Cross, or it's something stupid
Mhm.
because I just listen, and not
It's
on
just
purpose.
random. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think it's good to, like, expose yourself to, like, multiple different genres, like, I
Yeah.
love all types of music. I know that there's only one genre of music I really don't really get into, and that's country, but I listen to rock, I listen to jazz, I listen to
Yeah.
hip hop, R&B. I do
Ooh.
love me some disco and some house music. Those are my favorite
Really?
genres.
Oh my
Yes.
god. I can't ever, even though the beat is like boom, boom, boom. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? Like it's
It
so
just
like
takes me somewhere else. I
you go
just
into a trance
especially,
or
like, if it
something,
has,
you're
like
gone.
yeah, especially if it has, like, soulful undertones and stuff like CC Peniston, a little bit of Mariah's house music.
What?
Love it.
Okay,
Mhm.
offline, I'm gonna need you to send me some songs, some music to open up my repertoire.
I will, I will.
Yes, yes.
I
What
love
else?
this
What else? We got what? 3 minutes? 2 minutes?
Yeah, we got 2
Less
minutes.
boss.
I guess, like, leaving people with, a positive note.
Mm,
Just going back to what she said, because like, I just really, really, really love how, like, you and I want us to get into this one day,
yeah.
knowing yourself, trusting yourself, and expressing yourself,
Yes, ma'am.
because there's so many people that I feel like are not being their true authentic selves and are, like, kinda caged in and not experiencing
Yes.
all the beautifulness that life has to offer because you don't know yourself and you don't express yourself. It's so important to get in tune with
Yes.
yourself and to open up your throat and speak out and express yourself in
Yes.
however way you see fit.
Yes. And I love that highlight. And I will echo as we land this plane, know yourself. Examine your thoughts before you start speaking, for the love of God. You know what I mean? Because we were conditioned, every single human was conditioned to think a certain way. And when you truly know yourself and you come into alignment with the everything that is, however you define it, what you know yourself to be might be extremely different than who you actually are. So yes, know yourself. And when you find that, you trust it. And then you express. If it's divisive, you might want to sit a little bit longer to find your inner unity, trust that, and that from that is where the expression comes very inspirationally. You're inspired.
Beautiful. We
Yeah.
could put a pin in it there. Thank you, Tasha, for joining us and being
Thank
our
you.
guest co-host. I am
Like,
Miss Be Lovely. Thank you guys for
mm.
joining us for another episode of What's Up and Why. See you again next Thursday.
Love you. Bye.